On March 7, 2019, the Jewish Federation of Victoria and Vancouver Island presented a talk by Hannah Faber on her recent experiences in Israel and her decision to make Aliyah. Hannah's Jewish identity has been shaped by organizations supported by United Jewish Appeal donations, Camp Mirriam on Gabriola Island, and our Israel portion recipient, Dror Israel in the Haifa area. Jewish Federation also directly supported Hannah's travels through an Israel Experience grant. Hannah's presentation demonstrates how United Jewish Appeal donations can make a difference both here at home and abroad in Israel.
So, as you all now know, my name is Hannah, and some of you might recognize me because I was a student at UVic from 2015 to 2018, and I was a teacher at the Congregation Emmanuel Hebrew School. I ran the Habonim Dror Youth here. I was active in Hillel, and just in general tried to be as active as I could be in this community. Very special community, in my opinion. And I'm here to tell a personal story, sharing my experience as a Jewish person growing up in the diaspora and eventually making Aliyah, and to speak about the things I've learned from my experience, and to share why I made Aliyah, and not just made Aliyah, but joined Dror Israel. The Dror Israel movement, which is actually a movement that receives funding from the Jewish Federation of Victoria and Vancouver Island for a specific project they do called the Beit Tzeirim. And I just am really grateful to be here and to talk about my story. And that I think it is, for me, specifically special to be able to speak here tonight because I consider the Jewish community of Victoria as a community that really fostered my connection to Israel and my Jewish identity in the years that I was here. Really helped grow it in a lot of ways and gave me so many platforms to relate to it and to invest in it. And specifically the Jewish Federation supported me a lot through my university years in my Aliyah process, specifically in helping me do a Aliyah seminar in Israel. And I think that there's something really beautiful about this connection that exists that I think is embodied by me and also I think Leah's children about the connection between the Victoria Jewish community and Dror Israel that isn't just embodied through finances but also through a living connection of the people that come from this community and join that organization. And when I was 10 years old, I started going to Camp Mirriam, and I loved camp. Camp was the best thing ever. I got there when I was 10 years old, and I immediately decided, anything to do with Habonim Dror, I was in. I was gonna do it all. This is the best thing ever. I'm never looking back. I'm all in. When I was 10 years old, and I basically, that's what I did. And while I was there, I read this text by this man named Eli Ben-Gal, and he talks about how there's two main things that form a person's identity, and that's the horizontal line and the vertical line. And so something that I felt in Israel is when I was in Israel, my horizontal line and my vertical line were like this. They were matched up, right? I was physically in a place that was connected to my vertical line, my Jewish identity, my ancestry, my ethnicity. And I was physically in a place where those things happened, where the history of those people happened. And then when I was in Canada, I felt like there was, every time my vertical line and my horizontal line met, there was tension. Another way of describing that is that there was a dissonance between the historical and the geographical reality of my life. I think in university, specifically, the way that I felt this tension the most was a tension between my identity as a Jew with a connection to Israel and a Zionist, and my identity as a person who believes in social justice. And oftentimes, the question that I was asked when I entered the door to be part of a social justice group, the first question was, what do you think about Israel? And I was either asked to deny something that is deeply a part of who I am and my identity, to be a part of a group of people, or to not be in that space and to hold on to, or to deny the other thing, which is the belief in social justice. And I found that very difficult, and that tension. And I think what that can create in a person is two options. The first option is to say that one of those identities actually doesn't exist. It's constructed, it's not real, someone has constructed it for you, and to let go of it. And I think that's something I faced in terms of my Jewish identity, a lot of relationship to Israel, it's not a real thing, it's been constructed by Jewish organizations, and it's not, whatever, that's a trope I heard. And the other thing I could do, the other choice I had, was to look at these two parts of my identity, say they both matter to me, and now I need to try and shape my life in a way where I can hold them both. And I chose the second, and from that stance, I decided to make Aliyah. And for me, making Aliyah was a choice to bring both those lines together in my identity, and to choose to shape that dissonance created in my life by being a Jew born in the diaspora. That's chance. That's not my choice. I was born here, and I chose to shape that. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about the projects in Dror Israel by talking a bit about what I do and also what my friends do who live with me in the educational kibbutz that I live in. So I live in an educational kibbutz in Haifa with 10 other people, 3 North Americans and 7 Sabrim, or born Israelis. And the work that I do is in the youth movement. So that's the far circle. So that includes cities, villages, development towns. And what I do is I run the branch of the youth movement in a town called Kiryat Yam. Kiryat Yam is a development town right outside of Haifa. It is a city that absorbs a lot of new immigrants. There's an absorption center in Kiryat Yam. And so a lot of my campers, the kids that come to my branch, are new immigrants or children of new immigrants. The socioeconomic status of Kiryat Yam is lower, and basically most of my campers, the thing that they say to me the most is that they want to leave Kiryat Yam. That's like their main goal, is to leave. And my main goal is to get them to take responsibility over their community, which is Kiryat Yam. So it's hard, right? Like, how do you get kids who, for their experience, the place that they live is not a place they want to be, to actually choose to see some of the things that are beautiful about it and take responsibility over it. So like I said, Kiryat Yam is a city with a lot of immigrants, and I'm also a new immigrant from Canada. And I think that's also a really interesting meeting with the kids. Oftentimes kids are like, why did you come here? You're from Canada, that place is awesome. I want to go to Canada. Like, it's really seen as this really wonderful place. And it has been a very wonderful place to grow up in. And a lot of these kids, they come from places like the USSR or Brazil or India, or places where they face a lot of, they have no other choice but to come to Israel, or they face a lot of violence, a lot of fear. And so to see someone who chooses to come, not because they face the same type of violence or fear, but because they want to, is really confusing. And for some of them, they don't get it, they don't understand it. And for some of them, it can be kind of inspiring. So when I first made Aliyah, about 4 weeks after I made Aliyah, I'd already started. And it was Yom HaAliyah, which is the international day that recognizes Aliyah in Israel. And so I did a lesson in a class. And as part of the lesson, I told them a little bit about why I chose to make Aliyah. And afterwards, a 8th grade girl named Michelle came up to me, and she said that her family is from the USSR, and they had to move to Israel. They were forced to make Aliyah. They weren't forced to make Aliyah, but that was their circumstances were created that they needed to come to Israel. And they're very grateful to be there, and they love Israel, and they're Zionists. But for her, it was really inspiring to know that there's people that care enough about Israel that they'll give up very, really nice lives to come. So I think for me, choosing to join Dror Israel was a choice to put my dreams for the future of Israel and the Jewish people at the center of my life. And live my life as close as possible to my values, and live my life as true to my Jewish identity as possible, and try to take responsibility over Israeli society and, by extension, Jewish people. But there was something about this attempt by Jewish people to create a utopian society that really inspired me. And I looked at it, and for me, it felt like the most Jewish thing in the world. I thought about how amazing it is that Jewish people, so many Jewish people, could come together to try and create something that could be the light unto the nations. And at the time period that the kibbutz movement was doing that, I think it was this huge hope in the Jewish people. And for me, in modern day times, I think Dror Israel has the potential to be that. And I think is a pioneering spirit and a model that relates to our times, and I think also can really inspire young people. And I think if other young people like face the same types of things that I faced at university and the same type of identity questions that I faced, something about Dror Israel can really answer that. And I think it can be really inspiring. I personally wasn't satisfied to be inspired from afar, and I wanted to be a part of it. Like, I saw it and I was like, I need to be a part of this. And I wanted to be a part of creating this movement that I think has the possibility of and the potential of really, really impacting Israeli society and Jewish people for the better.